In 3, 2, 1, we're live.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the UWI St. Augustine's Student Town Hall virtual session. I am Winel Gregorio, the Director of the Marketing and Communications Office here at the St. Augustine campus, and I will be your moderator for today's proceedings. Thank you all for joining us. This town hall this afternoon is the third in our series of student engagements this week. And it began with a meeting with our student leaders of the Guild Council, on Monday, and a town hall for regional, international, and exchange students on Tuesday. This afternoon, you will hear from Pro Vice Chancellor and Campus Principal, Professor Brian Copeland, on the campus's commitments to you, our students, as we begin the new academic year. One that is certainly unprecedented in a number of ways as we continue to navigate the COVID-19 pandemic. At this time, I want to acknowledge the other members of the campus executive management team, as well as the extended management team joining us in today's session. We have with us Professor Indar Ramnarayan, our Deputy Principal, Dr. Dawnmarie Fugil, our Campus Registrar, Mrs. Andrea Taylor-Hanna, our Campus Bursar, Mr. Frank Sudin, our Campus Librarian, and we have 5 of our 8 campus deans. We have our Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Dr. Heather Keto, our Dean for the Faculty of Engineering, Professor Edwin Ekwe. We have Dr. Brian Coburn, Faculty of Science and Technology Dean. We have Professor Rosemary Ballantyne, our Dean for the Faculty of Law. And we have with us Dr. Cola Lewis Cameron, Dean for the Faculty of Social Sciences. Added to our senior management and our dean's list, we also have with us our Deputy Campus Registrar, Mrs. Patricia Brown. We have our Head of Security Services, Mr. Noel Corbett. A very familiar name, the continuing students would know, Dr. Deirdre Charles, our Director of the Division of Student Services and Development, and the managers in her division. We have Ms. Simone Roberts, our Assistant Registrar acting for Student Affairs Admissions, Professor Hari Haran Sitharaman, Director of the Office for Graduate Studies and Research, Mr. Rajesh Kandhai, our OSH Manager, our Financial Manager for Student Accounts, Mr. Kevin Kalu, our Student Recruitment Officer, Mr. Nigel Bradshaw, our Campus CIO, Mr. Nazir Aladdin, and our Head of our examination section, Mrs. Nadia Thomas Lane. Specially joining us as well is the President of the Students Guild, Mr. Warren Anderson. So here's an idea of how today's program will flow. We will begin with a presentation from our campus principal. Then we will have our question and answer segment featuring our invited panelists. We've allotted a considerable amount of time as we know many of you have questions. In our YouTube chat, we have a chat moderator who will be taking note of the questions and the comments you have shared in the chat, and they will be shared with our panelists. Our panelists will then answer as many of the questions that they can, as well as questions sent to us prior to this afternoon session. Our chat moderator will also be sharing helpful links along the way about student support services, as well as key contacts for panelists and other information that you may want to know. So please, keep reading the chat for updates, and you may want to even take note of some of the links that we share. I ask for your patience in advance today with this virtual format in case we run into any snags, any technical difficulties. We do have a technical team on hand, and we will be troubleshooting if we fall into any difficulties. So to start us off, I now invite Professor Brian Copeland, Campus Principal, to welcome you and to address you this afternoon. Principal?
Yes, thank you, Winel. I will now share my screen because I prefer to do this in this format. So good afternoon to everyone, to my colleagues from UWI. Special welcome to the Guild President and other members of the Council who are here as part of the panel. I just wanted to say that it is significant that this is done because by UWI statute, the Guild is in fact a full member of the university operation system. and it has always been so from since its inception. The Guild plays a role in a lot of the high-level decisions at the university, all the way up to the top-level committee, which is the council of the University of Western, sort of like the overarching board of directors. So it's a significant position and a significant responsibility that they carry. Special welcome to all students who are in the audience via YouTube. And we hope that today, after today, a lot of the answers, the questions that you raised, the answers you're looking for are well treated with. I wanted to set some context in treating with today's session, because it's important to understand what it is you're getting into from a perspective of registration in a university that is ranked very highly internationally. I well recall when I first went off to do my postgraduate was at University of Toronto, and this was way back when, 1980 or so, 78 actually, coming to think of it, that people had already started to know about you. In fact, I was being asked questions about individuals who had done very well at UFT before I got there, and who had actually taught me. So I knew them very, very well. I was quite proud, and I felt actually quite at home. And this story has been replicated all across the group. UWI has been blazing trails internationally for many a year. But apart from the graduates now on this slide, what you're seeing is that UWI is now a system that has gone international. We have several sites internationally, Colombia, USA, Canada, United Kingdom, and so on. These are all in collaboration with universities there, by the way. And the expense from us is actually next to nothing. These types of collaborations are enjoyed by universities globally. And in fact, they are now coming after us, basically, to join and collaborate with them simply because our ranking is so high. In the Caribbean, as you know, UWI has several locations, and many people are astounded to see how expansive it is. I was in a meeting with the High Commission for Canada this morning. They're planning to give us some assistance in one of the projects that we engaged in. But as you know, there are three main campuses, one in St. Augustine, which is where we are now. Barbados has its Cayville, Jamaica, Mona. But apart from these, there are open campus sites all over, about 50 sites and all. They're also, not shown here, but they're also situated in Belize. And there's also a relationship with the Havana Center for Research and Development in conjunction with the University of the West Indies. Our Vice Chancellor has been very active in building these international partnerships. So you can see what you're joining is a system that is spread globally because of the interest that everyone has shown in the University of the West Indies. We are 60 years old this year, come October. That's this particular campus. So we were started in 1960, University itself started in 48. It was for a while a college of the University of London. And I'm saying all this so you can understand the legacy that we bring with us. We do have more challenges, as all universities do. We are growing, as many universities are, in fact, they all are. But we are will rank in doing so, number one in the Caribbean, as it stands, and in the top 4% internationally, according to the latest rankings. We have an exceptional record of producing leaders and delivering quality education. We have among our ranks a Nobel Prize winner and a laureate as well. And we've expanded our wings beyond education and research, which was typically what we got into, to looking at development and innovation. And this is specifically for the region. I wanted to stick a pin here and just let you know that one of the new activities that we're looking at is in response to the question of how can the University of the West Indies work to help improve, we can't do it on its own, but to help improve the economic climate across the Caribbean. Before COVID, we were seeing situations where people were graduating and the jobs were not available. We saw stagnation across the Caribbean because, of course, we're so small, critical mass is very low. The mobility to other climates are limited. How do we influence that? And one of the answers we came up with, well, what's wrong with our students creating their own jobs, looking to earn foreign exchange? And that is what we want to do. So at this point, I just want to lay out a challenge to you. Those of you who are in the university system or coming to the system, I will set aside the year 2034 In that year, I expect to see UWI graduates starting to dominate a whole new sector that is rich with small and medium enterprises, earning foreign exchange, compensating for the lot of foreign exchange and trying to live in particular the fall off in oil and gas, and up the islands compensating by through diversification away from tourism as well. We have it in our brains. We know that we are smart and clever people. The university is focused on this as part of its new thrust. In terms of education, I know that you're very interested in that because you're anxious to get into the programs. We are accredited at the top level, that is institutionally, so all of the campus itself is accredited by the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago, but also at in the professional programs in engineering, in medicine, and so on. We have accreditation there by international accreditation agencies. We have strong local, regional, and global partnerships as well. So all of these things come together. All of these things come together, basically, to provide for an experience, whether it is online as we are forced to do at this point in time, or face-to-face. All of these come together to build for a rich environment that prepares you for a future life. And part of that life will be, of course, taking care of yourself and family. But the other part of it will be making your contribution to carry us to that 2034, when we have a strong small and medium enterprise sector, when the concerns of having oil and gas and tourism fall off are there still, but they're not as prevalent as they are today, contributing to national growth and development wherever your nation is. So we are, as an example of this, we are a key collaborator in the national COVID-19 response at different levels, from the medical engagement, from the psychological engagement, and even from the perspective of developing tools and PPE equipment and the like. I just got off the phone about 45 minutes ago with one of our engineers who's working with a team to develop ventilators, because we know that we're going to be in short supply, especially since there's this second wave. That's the kind of stuff that a real university does. And we are willing to embrace that going forward. We have been along for a long time. We intend to be here for the future. We will be developing and we will be growing. There are some kinks in the structure, and some of them have been amplified because of COVID. But we want to make sure that in securing your future, we want to make sure our future is bright. And we are therefore, in this session, we'll be talking about the commitments we'll be making to you to ensure that you make the transition into this semester one of a very, very strange year, academic year 2021. I hope, by the way, that all of you have your little notebooks put aside, writing your notes or penning your notes on the computer or whatever, so that when your grandchildren come along, you'll be able to talk about what's happening this year, because a lot of stuff is new, and God spare life, it will not happen again. So it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. It's one of great risk. It is World War III. This is what we're into. So with all that growth, we still have some pains. We will talk a bit about those pains, but also talk about the positives as well going forward. Let's speak about your life now at present in terms of navigating the current campus operations going into virtual. We have decided as a university that we have to operate at low risk for our students and for our staff. And the first and foremost in this, the highest priority, is how do we deliver. We are a campus of typically 15,000 students. 15,000 students in a crowded space, like in a space that we have, means that we will be violating social distancing and the like. The government has decided that there shall be no face-to-face teaching until January 2021. That's what I understand. In any case, quite frankly, it would be high risk of bringing students on campus. So online is it. We've been moving to that before COVID. COVID has come to accelerate that environment, and we will embrace it. We will do our best to ramp up to high quality online delivery. Still some work to be done, I have to admit, but that's what life is all about, the progressive improvement. That's where we're into. So let's talk quickly about some of these current sort of issues that are facing you. And right now the processes are ongoing. I know there have been questions asked about admissions and registration. Normally every year we get a lot of questions and so on for people from students who are unclear as to how as to how their applications should be processed, what's happening, and so on. All the contacts are there. You need to follow up with those. This page just gives us a status as to where we are. We are issuing offers. We have admissions advising going on. Registration will start soon. In some cases, I think it has started already. application processing for postgraduates there, interfaculty transfers being processed, something like 4,500 plus applications complete and 4,700 actually offers. Some people have multiple offers, first and second offers and the like. With respect to support that's available, we have academic advising from our faculty clerks. There should be faculty clerks. That's available. So contact your faculties with respect to the admissions advising. A good deal of that has to do with the picks of your courses and programs that in which you will be engaged. So please, in fact, make sure that you contact them. There are emails listed here, and they are also available online, provided to elsewhere. I'm just repeating it here, just to make sure I cover all the bases. Make sure that we follow up with all of these. This is normally a torrid time for everybody, student and staff alike. We are working to make sure that the environment is improved. And this is something we're doing before COVID. Again, COVID has accelerated this. It showed us where these gaps are, and provided us said, we need to look at this, we need to look at that. We can't change it midstream. I ask for patience. You will be looked after. We will be doing that. Just ask for your patience. Just hold on. If there are any issues that that you need to address, they will be looked after, and I've been assured of that. And I'll be constantly talking to the staff concerned to ensure that this happens. Let's talk about graduation. In terms of the declaration of degrees, the exam section is processing that right now. Now, I have to stick another pen to say, remember, we've been affected by COVID too. Okay, graduation remains our priority, but in March, we have to come offline, move everything online. It was like crazy. Quite frankly, some of us, including myself, have been here since March, no break, because we have to make all the adjustments, and there's still adjustments to be made. So we would like all the students to quote unquote cross the stage, but the stage this year will probably be a virtual one. Right now, the university is discussing a hybrid mode of graduation. I saw online where Chinese universities using avatars. Another one in Korea is doing some 3D simulations and so on. People are trying to find innovative ways to keep people from congregating in graduation. We know important graduation is to you. We will do our best to make sure that you have a lifelong sort of experience. Exam section is processing this following the completion of assessments. Remember, we're still completing assessments for summer, and we'll continue to distribute certificates as far as graduation is concerned. So graduation is two steps. One is complete the degree, record is there, you know what degree you have, usually before you have the certificate in your hand, and then the next thing is getting your certificate. In terms of caution fee, there is a refund process when you pay a caution fee. When you enter the university, you don't have to pay it again. And if, of course, you don't owe anything for doing whatever, doing any damage to equipment or infrastructure, it is, in fact, refunded. So you can do this online. We've made arrangements for students to get their clearance from faculties. That's usually the next step. We were around before COVID, unfortunately, still in the paper age. You go around to faculties, and somebody have to sign to say, yeah, this student doesn't owe us anything. They haven't done any damage or whatever. You don't owe anything to the faculty. And you go around, and the library is involved in that as well. And you go back and put it in, and the funds are made available to you. This year, it is all online. You simply have to fill out the refund of portion money from online, scan it, and email it to the addresses that are shown here. And I'm asking marketing, if they have not done so, to post that in the chat. So that's life now. As I said, some challenges. There are challenges we see every year, and I'm working to get those down next year, make the process a little bit more seamless. And that is work that will be done at the end of the current period before the start of the next one. We'll have about 6 weeks or so to make the planning. And I'll give you that as a commitment without actually stamping on the page that this is one. Let's look ahead now and address the real concerns that we're seeing coming from students. We've been having a lot of discussion with the Guild on this. They have shared the concerns on behalf of the student body. Many of you have been vocal. You've spoken out on behalf of your peers on social media and the like. We have listened. We have listened to that, and we have looked at it. We've actually had a meeting up till yesterday, and we looked at the requests and the concerns that came up and said, okay, let's address these, because clearly this is not working for our students. You are the ones that we are here for. So let's look at them one by one. There are 6 areas in which we are focused. First is fees, then we look at student support. We look at library services. The issue of repatriation came up in a meeting I had with foreign students. We still have some students who are trapped inside or outside the borders. Health and wellness came up. I was pleased to see that students were looking at this as well, because many of us ran into this COVID fight without even considering that. And the academics itself and how that will proceed. So we've taken note of all your concerns, and we've categorized the concerns into these 5 categories, and I hope that these treat with your concerns directly. I want to talk first about fees, what I've put up here is a comparison of the fees across the Caribbean, and including, of course, this is for Faculty of Medical Sciences, and it includes, of course, the university itself, which is at the bottom of the screen. We at St. Augustine here at the bottom, and we're at the bottom in terms of those fees, not just placement. If you look at the fees, you see most of those fees for medical sciences, this is over a 5-year period. We are the lowest. Very, very significantly if you compare us even with the other universities in the campuses of the University of the West Indies, we are still below their levels. And this is a country that has done very well with oil over all the years. If you look at St. George's University School of Medicine, $276,000 for the MD program. Ross, which has just moved from Dominica, this was wrong, it's actually in Barbados now, $242,000 US for 5 years. The only university that is compares is the American University of Barbados School of Medicine, which I mean the meds will tell you about that school and why it is like that. But even 105 to 95, I mean, come on, it's pretty much the same. So essentially, see that we're on the low end of the spectrum. Now, this applies for all programs. I did a rough check. Let's look let's look closer to home. This is what's in the fee booklet for engineering. Okay. Now you notice a couple of things. One is that there's a per credit component, right? $500 per credit is typically what we charge, especially for professional programs where there are labs and the like to take care of. The compulsory fees, which has been the subject of a lot of the requests from students. I'll come back to it in a minute. And the tuition fees are listed here as well. If you take a 36 credit load per year, you're paying $18,000. Now this is TT dollars, okay? And then all the rest are estimates for your living expenses, some of which might be lower because of COVID, because again, no students on campus. We may make some provision depending on the student's circumstance. There are some students who are really seriously challenged in their home environment for one reason or the other, and we're still trying to make sure that we can probably safely accommodate them, come under some building shelter, not come into class, use the Wi-Fi maybe if you can't get it, but we have to be very careful with that. We can't be too many and so on. That's a whole control problem I don't want to get into. But look at the figure for tuition. In Trinidad and Tobago, right, it's $18,000 TT per year for an engineering program. When my colleagues abroad look at that, their jaws always drop to the ground. We can't believe it. Look at Mona's cost. It's 10,000 US. In fact, Mona's cost is almost the same as the total estimated cost that you have to put out in engineering. We are the lower end of the spectrum. There's also a complication that you need to be aware of. And I think when I look back at the records and look at what has happened to this University West and the principals of the past, I don't think they've been so open as I've been, and there's not a boost when it comes to finances. I think you need to know everything. You're all over 18 to understand the scenario. Okay, we need every year to at least draw level. We need to balance the books, and that is why cost comes in the first place. Government is there. In fact, that $18,000 C really translates more to like $90,000 because that's really the total cost for your tuition as an engineering student. Government caters for 80% of the cost of your tuition. So every Trinidadian in particular who has come to this university over the last 20 years, right? That's longer than many of you have been around. 20 years have paid $18,000 for an engineering degree. And the balance of that, out of that 90 is covered by the government of Trinidad and Tobago and other governments as well. These are the fees we agreed to for the part of the budget that treats with the programs that we have. I made a point there about the tuitions. Tuition on this campus has not changed since 2001. 2001. That has not happened on other campuses. On other campuses, the government contribution is not as much, which is why the rates are so high. So the coverage is not there. And also they've been allowed to increase their fees. Allowed, you say? Allowed because on our council, apart from the guild, there sits government of Trinidad and Tobago and the other 16 governments that are contributing territories for all the campuses. And those in the past have basically opposed any increase in tuition. It's not a good scenario because it means that we're not able to run our business the way we could. It's good for you because it means the costs have been held low. Think of the year 2001 or what was around. I was trying to look at to see if I can find some old files with the kind of prices people used to pay. The most I could do was find out what games were popular there. So people were still at the Sega, Genesis, and all that kind of stuff in 2001. Where are games now? Sorry, I'm watching on Netflix right now on how games were developed, and that jumped out at me. Okay, 2001. Some of you were not even born as yet. So nobody runs a business like this. It is where we are, but happily, we've done very well. Still, we've managed, we've gotten additional income. It's something we work on even more. We have put on some of the courses we offer self-funded, and some of you will be registered in those. That's why we charge you that type of rate, because we have to cover our bases. But, and by the way, we have also done well in terms of the rankings despite that. And that is significant. Many internationally have wondered about that. So we're trying very hard to make sure we deliver for you and for the region in which you will work, despite what seems to be the lowest rates around. Okay, so I need to make that point then to get on to amenities fee, because I know that's what you've been asking about the amenities fee. We had a discussion on this, and also just before the meeting, out of yesterday's meeting, we were saying, okay, well, let's try and reduce it by 50% because amenities fees cover quite a lot. I saw the comments that said, well, we're not on campus, so therefore, well, it doesn't work like that. Because we've gone fully online, and because we want a quality online delivery, because we want to ensure that the system doesn't crash when all these courses come up and everybody's using all of the features in our learning environment, we have to show up our ICT infrastructure. We have been involved in online delivery for, I think, probably more than 30 years. Even before the internet got its way, we were into satellite transmission of courses, doing interaction and everything, real kludgy kind of systems. We've been doing that for many, many years. And we got online. We've run courses that have had enrollment from all over the world. I remember having, in one course in particular, we had students in the Indonesian tsunami, but students in the same course from the US, from the UK, and so on. And when you saw what was required to do that properly, you really and truly had to open your eyes. You really and truly were astounded, because you would think that because, well, okay, it's the internet and it's there, that the cost is zero. No, this is not you chatting with somebody else. This is you delivering knowledge over a particular platform, and there's a way to do it well, and there's a way to do it excellently, and we're looking for the excellence in this. So just last week, I had a chat with our campus CIO, Information Technology Officer, and they did a deep dive into what happened during semester 2 of last year. And even though it ran, what he told me is that to get it to run, it was almost like Flintstones. Well, I hope you're young enough to know about Flintstones. Riding in his stone car, with his foot on the ground as the engine, because you had to manually get in to make sure the system didn't crash. And therefore, to make sure that the underlying capacity problem is taken into account, we now have to spend more money to build that up. We have now signed off on that, because this matter only came to the fore recently. The infrastructure we have, the fiber network, the servers, and so on, a lot of them are actually out of service, not out on service, out of service, which means that we're hanging on a string. They're operating, but if they come down, there are no parts available, the manufacturer is not supporting it, they're out of warranty, etc., etc. We have to do a redo. And we already have a proposal in line for doing this. We should have started 2 months ago, but we had budget issues has now been resolved more or less, that we can proceed with that. But that's an additional cost, and that is a lot more than the cost I just spoke of bumping up the capacity for Moodle and Blackboard Collaborate, which is our preferred tool for doing online learning. So all these costs come in, and then with COVID, there's so many things that pop up that you have to address, hidden under the past, but coming out because of COVID, we needed a buffer. And that's why previously we were holding out and saying, no, we can't reduce the joint amenities fee because we need that buffer. Remember, the funds from government subventions and the like that provide that 80%, that is something that is always there's always a big question mark on that. That actually is committed in the most part. But now in emergency mode, you need to have a buffer, and we saw this as an opportunity. Be that as it may, we said, look, maybe some way we can get some savings. We think it. I spoke with the bursar, and we decided first of all on 50% reduction. But I was still worried about it. I lost sleep last night on this. And I decided, I spoke to the deputy principal, he's not very happy with me, so I'm not going to get any more BS from him, that you see this 50% reduction, we're going to take it off, and that's going to be 100%. Okay, that's an executive decision, Obama style. Okay, so there'll be no amenities fee, and this is for this year only. All right, we need that fee to make sure that the experience of students on campus are the best. But since you're not on campus, okay, I understand that part, but there are some things that we are concerned about. We will absorb whatever comes our way and give you that reduction. So that is the issue of amenities fee. Okay. There is a student payment plan, and previously it was restricted only to TNT nationals and nationals of contributing territories. We now do it for every single student across the board, right? No division there. That's commitment number 2. Halls, commitment number 3. Well, I don't know if it's a commitment. It's just telling you that, hey, nobody could be on hold. There are universities abroad, I believe I have it on the next slide. Oh, yes, it will come. That shows that the halls were the center of infection on the campuses. And some universities are closing down because of that, because they allow students on hold. Again, any zone where you're concentrated, you are begging for trouble. So we have decided that the halls will not be available for occupation. There are some people on hall. They were caught on hall during the lockdown. I'm sorry, and I've been trying to get home and speak to that in a bit. But halls will not be available. That's a lost situation for us, by the way, because there are people who are assigned to work the halls. They are going to be worried when they hear this, because the hall income pays their salaries. Okay, but this is the life of COVID. This is a snapshot I took of a Google search. I can't remember the search terms I put in. I think I put dorms, COVID, something. And up comes this one. University of North Carolina seems to be in for a very, very, very hard time. And if you look at the last part right here, they're talking about UNC kick students out of dorms. We're not doing that. We manage that. And off-campus residents warned, right? So students who are there on the dorms, they can stay. We're not doing that to you. But those of you off campus, you warned. Basically, essentially, people are saying stay at home. Do your lectures at home. If you have difficulty with that, if you can speak to Dr. Deirdre Charles in the DSSD, we'll try and see if we can assist in any particular way. All right, but we have to take those on a case-by-case basis because there's so much going on. But not on campus. Staying away from campus as much as possible. And certainly not for classes in particular. By the way, when I did we did a calculation on what it would take for a fixed seating auditorium to seat individuals and be in alignment to the COVID protocols. Well, the capacity dropped by 85%, not 15% maximum, and dropped by 85% minimum. That's almost nobody in the class. So it just did not make sense to do this, given that this beast is still out there. Silent soldier, deadly when they're ready, but generally one that just gives you a lot of discomfort that could last for your lifetime. Okay. Commitment number 4, loan of tablets and laptops. We started this when at the lockdown, the lockdown that occurred, we realized that many students were compromised. They did not have the devices. They were coming on campus to use the facilities that we have. Some of them had internet access problems as well, and the campus has a pretty strong network. It's actually, I must say, if you don't mind me boasting a bit, we were the first institution in Trinidad and Tobago to even have a network. So we've been in this a long, long, long time. And our 6 people are very much at making sure the system works very well. Any case, these devices continue to be available on loan. They are, will be loaned to like a book from the library, and those arrangements the library will post. If you have queries, you can write the deputy principal's office, and the email is down there. In terms of internet access, that came up again. At the lockdown, we negotiated zero-based internet access from the internet service providers. That it took a little bit of coaxing, and it worked pretty well in Trinidad. I know it took some time to kick in Jamaica and Barbados, but it was available in Trinidad before it was in the other islands. So basically, we just provide them a list of all the students, list of the sites that they're visiting. You pay for your visit, like Netflix and all that kind of stuff. But once you visit our website, you will not charge. That's how it works. Now, they took the hit for that. And just as I suspected, they're a little bit slow in responding to those requests. The Vice Chancellor of the university has written to them across the entire Caribbean, asking for a continued concession in this regard, and we haven't heard back as yet. In the meantime, we know that one of the local companies is offering students a deal. I guess when the other one comes on, the deal will be even better. They will be struggling and fighting, and the prices will come down. But they're offering one of these dongles, MiFi, I think it's called, at a rate that they think is reasonable. We looked at it and we told them we think it should be cheaper. So we negotiated on several fronts. We continue to do so to see if we can provide that access, especially for those who do not have a good internet connection to avail themselves of the learning opportunities. That's commitment number 4. Commitment number 5, library access. Virtual and drop-off service. Well, you can't come in on campus to do this, to browse and all that stuff, which is unfortunate. We've lost that connectivity thanks to COVID-19. So the physical buildings are currently not accessible, but the staff at the library are working both on site and remotely to support your education research needs. So all of that will take place remotely. We'll have drop-off points and the like, where you can drop, when you can access books that you need and drop them off when you're finished. And the website, the library's website that's posted there, they can provide you with much more information. The main thing is that we made this provision for you. So the commitment is that this will be maintained and service will be improved. Commitment 6, repatriation report. As I said before, there are non-national students seeking repatriation. Some people say repatriation, which I think is a better pronunciation. And there are also nationals abroad seeking to return. And I actually was able to pick up, one of them was on the regional call. He didn't give the name, but when they described the circumstance, I knew who it was. Because last week, I met the Minister of National Security asking for exemption status to be granted to several persons who were abroad on exchange arrangements, internships, and the like. And needed to come on. We were caught abroad since March. This particular person was actually down in Brazil and made his way up to New York, and from New York could move. Basically, that was in March. I've personally engaged the Minister of National Security on this to date, but I asked that all requests for consideration be sent to the DSS lead director, that's Dr. Charles, who will then forward to my attention. So the steps involved are this letter of request that when you request a letter of exemption from the Ministry of National Security. There's an upward part of it that says you got to identify the flights and even the aircraft that you're on. You're looking for aircraft registration number and all that stuff, which is not our request, it's not mine. That's the ministry's protocol. And you have to provide a copy of the biodata page. I know it's awkward because I know of an individual who went through the process, and then by the time they handled it, the flight had gone. So you have to time this thing just right. I do believe things are a lot better now in terms of sequencing, and certainly a lot more flights available at this point in time. So again, all queries, we direct them to the Office of the Director of the Division of Student Services and Development on this matter. Last count, I think there was 78 students or so still on hall, all of them at Sal Hall. As you know, by the way, I forgot to mention, 2 of our halls are being used in the battle against COVID-19. Um, and as a member of the community, of the national community, when the ministry asked, basically, we knew that we had to play our part. We have been helping them in other ways, but we knew this was necessary because, as you've seen from the numbers, this spike is a big one, and our capacity to handle it nationally is being challenged. We have to play its part. Students were not supposed to be on campus in any case, so we had to make a quick decision to say, okay, Minister, you asked, we will allow you to use these halls. They will return it after they're properly sanitized and actually helping us by doing some minor repairs and so on to make the halls habitable. But we are sure that it will be fully sanitized when it is all done. So let's ask about virtual health and wellness support. So commitment number 7 is exactly about that. In terms of health and wellness, our HSU will remain open as it has been. I think it took a slight break because nobody was coming in and we needed to take a break basically. But they're accessible by phone and email for emergencies. Our CAPS unit, counseling psychological services, very, very important. Do underestimate it. It continues to offer virtual sessions. They all, the 2 experts, they went online almost the same day as we locked down, and they have been taking calls and the like. The students were having challenges with this. And as you all know, this COVID has really caused mental strain to all and sundry. Sport and Physical Education Center. I spoke to the head of SPEC just I think it was 2 days ago, and he's assured me that they're about to launch their online wellness sessions. This includes our relaxation classes and Zumba classes early in the new semester. If you look sharp, you'll see a principal joining one of those classes. But quite frankly, I'm biased more to the relaxation class. So that's going to start very soon. It is important. A lot of people look at this and say, well, this is trivial, and the answer is no. You can tell very easily when there's physical damage, but you can't easily tell when there's mental trauma until it's almost too late. So it's really important that you control your mind, learn how to relax, learn to control your mind, learn how to exercise your mind at the same time, and your body, holistic wellness. That's what we're about. Before the COVID, we were talking about this in a general way for the nation. And so I'm really glad to see him put this on because that's an ongoing discussion. If you want your citizenry to do well, if you want the nation to do well, the citizenry have to be doing well. They can't do well if they're suffering from NCDs everywhere. And you know that our rates are very high in the Caribbean. They can't do well if they can't understand their bodies and know when things are happening or that are not supposed to happen. They can't do well if mentally they can't tell when they need to be talking to somebody or doing something to help their mind improve. But that's a discussion we will have later down the road. Right now, let's talk about the immediate challenge in front of us. We move on to commitment number 8, recording of lectures. This came up on several occasions. And I asked my colleagues across the, I call it the UEGUS. That's all the different campuses. There are 5 of them now. I spoke to a couple of my colleagues about it and so on. And they've all assured me, look, this is real good pedagogical practice. This is how we teach online. Make your lectures available to students. And if you're doing it in the optimum way, and I want you to understand that we're getting to that space where all our lectures will be well attuned to what is good online delivery. I think about 40% of them are well in tune with that. But remember, some of our lecturers have been around for a while teaching face-to-face on the Blackboard, no longer Blackboard, thank God, whiteboard at least, or using PowerPoint and so on in a class situation to deliver. There's a different pedagogy, and I spoke earlier about teaching well. Many universities, many other colleges have online delivery. But when you check what they're doing, as one of my colleagues in one of those schools was saying, it was almost like a lecture is like a Sunday morning sermon. That's not the way we live online, right? It's got to be more active, pull people in, excite their interaction and participation. have them make suggestions. I need to tell you, a university is a space where, yes, you have lecturing staff. They act guides, mentors, they deliver some new knowledge, maybe some guide you through new knowledge. But really, actually, the best teacher of yourself is you. Is you. You want to take responsibility for your learning. And the records show that the students who do very well are not necessarily those with the high GPAs. They are those who take responsibility for their own learning. So I remember my situation when I was in high school. I will not call the subject area. I was not happy at all. And I went off. I got the syllabus. I did everything for myself, top to bottom, right? Because I wasn't satisfied with it. The way it was being delivered, I wasn't comfortable. And there are many who have done that and done very well. You take responsibility for your learning. At the same time, we are now saying, and this is a mandate I've given, and I've let the deans know that they're responsible for this, a mandate that teaching staff will make those lectures available to students while teaching assessment continue in this virtual mode. I've signaled to my colleagues of the islands that this should be so across the board. It is not a university policy. It is a strong recommendation. That's where it is. But I'm saying on this campus, this is a mandate. They will make those lectures available to students while teaching and assessment continues. There are some people who are concerned about intellectual property and all that stuff. I don't think that applies, but we'll have that discussion with them. This is what my mandate is. Okay. Number 9, relaxation of the 75% attendance record. This came up a lot in the discussions. So I need to give you some history behind this because I was around when this rule came in. It's actually a rule in the book that you need to attend lectures 75% of the time, unless, sorry, if you don't, if you have attended for less than that, you will not be allowed to take exams. Now, most lecturers and most faculties, a lot of faculties actually don't really apply this rule. And basically what I'm saying here, I'm reserving that right for lecturers. So nothing to enforce this regulation as necessary given the prevailing circumstances, but I expect that most of them will not. I will have a chat with them about this. It is not absolutely necessary. If it is a recording lectures, if it is a delivering, if it is that your teaching is such that if your teaching is such that that you are making full use of the online presence, is not absolutely necessary. So deans will have the authority to police this. There are some faculties that require it because their lectures are such that that interaction is all important. I need to also tell you as well that if a class failure rate is too high, and the threshold is like 25%, the university then says you need to look at that course and see what's happening. That happens every year, my friends. Okay? When this rule came in, it was as a result of a study that was conducted that showed that there was a high correlation between failure rates and non-attendance in class. And that study, I think, was repeated at least 2 or 3 times, and it came up with the same conclusion. So it was actually put in there to do 2 things. One is to safeguard the student and to make sure that they are attending the classes and not just taking notes from their colleagues and whatnot. Remember, the interaction is very important. Seeing the lecture, focus on certain details is important. All this is important. But at the same time, also have to admit, protest the lecture because they're the ones who will be called to account if the class failure rate is too high. So deans are asked to give oversight to this, to monitor it. There'll be some faculties, medical sciences has indicated, for example, that they apply rule. Some faculties do not. Okay, and I said they do it. I mean, quite frankly, when I was told this by the dean, I said, okay, I think I understand. I'm not so sure I want to be operated on by a surgeon who only attended 25% of the classes. You see? So there's a quality issue involved here as well. And it all then comes back to what it is, what is the required learning outcome and how is the delivery effective. It's not as simple as saying it's a draconian measure. If you dig into it, you see that really and truly the intent was not that in the first place, but also it's really about effectively learning outcomes. So the commitment is that we will monitor this, the deans will have authority on the matter, that has to be visited, and ensure that the 75% is not being applied just because it's in the regulation. I don't even think that was the original intent. It has to be justified based on the lectures that are being done. In the end, it is still your call. You're all over 18, still your call. But we have to make sure that, remember, government funding you to some 80%, they ask the questions as well. They want to make sure their money is well spent and that you're availing yourselves of the best that we have to offer. Let's go to commitment 10. Questions came up with respect to laboratories in general. Since we're online, what's happening with labs? And I'm pleased to say that, that some faculty have responded to this challenge in a way that I'm very, very, I'm sorry, happy with. And I'll ask you to have that discussion with the deans. They've been asked to draw up a little matrix or a table that says, okay, for this class, this is how labs will be done, and so on. I have seen in one of the departments where you need to have this hands-on experience that kits are being procured. Kits, actual kits, they're being procured, and they've been examined and found to be rich enough to conduct the kind of labs that are required. That's in year one. So you buy the kit and it's yours for life, but you can do your lab at home. See, that's one of the options that was put to me, and it looks as if the faculty will go with that. The ultimate is this: across the board, I've told all the deans the basic position, fallback is defer the labs. Do the courses that treat with the theory, leave the labs for a time when we can have students back on campus, and some may opt for that. I've seen cases where lecturers have rearranged the course schedule. So the ones that require the online presence, so for example, in dance and theater and so on, that's being moved to semester 2, and courses that are more theoretical move to semester 1. So there's no problem. It's solved. Okay, not even a question. So, but however, it is faculty and course dependent. You need to speak to the head of department. You can attend those sessions when the faculty have it. It will be brought up there, but specifically, however, the department, you need to talk to the head of the department to find out what is going on with respect to those labs, those hands-on components, on-site hands-on components. Now, medical sciences had a particular problem. They had gotten permission from the Ministry of Health to continue clinicals. This is where their students actually join the doctors. I'm sure you've all seen these doctor programs. I can't remember the last one I saw. And they go in teams around, and doctors will tell them, you know, look at a patient. Patient would have signed off, I guess, in some way, and they will discuss this patient's case. So they get on-site, on-hand learning. Those are the clinicals. So he's given permission for that, and I suspect it's because, of course, the COVID has taken a lot of the expertise out of the hospitals as well. So they'd like to see a new set of cohort of doctors into the system. What we have done is we have completed a clear policy, which will come into effect almost immediately. It's almost done. Our campus lawyer is here. She made sure it is in order. And part of that policy pertains to having a sign-off from the student to go into clinical. Now, I think you understand the scale. So this is not on COVID wards. This is in hospitals, but you know, you can still end up seeing people who may be affected. And that's a risk that the school officials, the dean and his colleagues will explain to you. You have the option of doing it or of deferring. I would really prefer that you take up the option. I understand from those around me that some of the best experiences that is exactly in a time like this. And we will need you to be soldiers in this war in the next couple of years when it finishes. This is going to take a little while. Okay, so you don't be in medicine and run when the challenge comes. Okay, but that is my recommendation. You need to have a chat with your family. Let them understand, okay, we're in clinicals, it's not on a COVID ward, but, and then you will sit down, have a reflection, think about it, and then there's a consent form that will be made available to sign. But this all is contingent upon on whether spaces are available. Because of what's going on, some hospitals are saying, well, no, we can't accommodate clinicals now. The dean will keep you abreast of that. If you are a foreign student, or let me take that back, a non-national, right? And let me go on my exalted platform, say a student from Caribbean in particular. Well, there are hospitals in your country. We have a strong network of professionals there. and we've started discussions with them for you to do the clinicals there. Okay, so you don't have to come into Trinidad to do it. This is happening as well, I think, in one of the engineering departments, maybe, I think it's geomatics, land surveying. Again, there's a network of professionals of the islands. They go around doing surveys of lands with the lights and so on, as they do on campus, as students do on the campus here. And they are arranging for that to happen. I don't know how far the discussions are, but I know that they were starting to have that discussion. So the dean, again, the faculty will in fact inform you about this, give you a lot more details. It is your choice, because right there is still the option of deferring this at no penalty to you. You understand what that is. So in summary then, I'm almost at an end. This lists the commitments at a glance. We are online. We're forced to be online. And it's a good for us in a way because we were going there, so we got a little push. But because of the rapid transition, there are lots of things to work out. A lot of dust stirred up, a lot of splashing, challenges that we never foresaw coming up, and we've been facing it all. As I said, there has been no break for many of us. That 50% reduction, as I said, and I did something crazy here. There we go. This is gone. So there's 100% reduction in the student amenities fee. Your student payment plan is now accessible by everyone. There's no access on the halls. So maybe that's not clear. None. Right? We won't be offering spaces. We had to change that because of the recent change in the government protocol. Loan of laptops and tablets continues. We will be also negotiating further with the ISPs to make sure to have some sort of low cost or free internet access. Library access is arranged. It has been arranged since the start of lockdown. Repatriation support will continue. What is new is the health and wellness component, new in terms of the question that was asked. The health unit was always open, but now we're speaking to issues of actual wellness, probably more than health, with online sessions. Recording of lectures, all lecturers are to record their lectures. Typically, these are made available for 24 hours after the lecture. There's going to be a memory squeeze if everybody just records and leaves it. So I'll have the campus IT people work that out, but I would think 24 hours or so. We have relaxed the 75% attendance record, relaxed but not waived it, because some people actually need it. And then there's the continuation of clinicals for FMS students, as well as we still have to finalize some of the arrangements for whatever labs we can salvage during the semester. So with that, colleagues, I'd like to thank you for your patience. Thank you for listening. Just to remind you again, what is the info? We have our challenges, but you know we're #1 in Caribbean. We're better than many other universities abroad. So the ranking say top 5%. Many are asking, how did you get that? We didn't make any special arrangement. Somebody came, looked at us objectively and said, you know, when we compare you with all these other universities, this is where you are. Okay? And we like to maintain that because we are giving you a top class education when this COVID is over, colleagues. We want to make sure you are ready to take on that new world that will come. In fact, you'll be the ones who will be responsible for really building it. You'll be the ones. This is your world coming here. You have to be well prepared. That's what this education is about. That's what they're giving you, right? And I want you to lift your heads and look at that situation. In some cases, as much as 3 years away. And some of you will be ready to graduate at the end of the year. That's the world you enter in. We want you to create that space. Go build the businesses. Go and help solve the social problems and the like. Go and look and ask yourself, why was the world doing this foolishness before? You've seen the issues that have come up online. All inequities that COVID has exposed. Get rid of them. That's your challenge. So I'd like to thank you again for your patience. And with that, I think I'll hand over to you right now.
Thank you very much, Principal. Thank you for your comprehensive overview and the clear set of 10 commitments to our student body. I'm sure many of the questions that students may have had before were answered in your presentation. But for those students that have questions still, you can place it into the chat. Our moderators are answering as we go along. And I want to acknowledge two of our senior management team that joined us. We have from the Faculty of Medical Sciences, the Dean, Professor Semangal, and representing the Dean of the Faculty of Food and Agriculture, Dr. Marquita Webb. Welcome and good evening. We turn next to Mr. Anderson, the president of the Guild of Students. Now, just to give you a little background, Mr. Anderson is enrolled in the Faculty of Social Sciences, and he is studying management studies and has plans to be an entrepreneur. When asked why he decided to serve on the Guild, he said, and I quote, "I saw how I could apply what I learned at UE to assist the Guild in its development and encourage others to do the same. We are developing the greatest minds in the Caribbean." Students, colleagues, it is my great pleasure to introduce you to Mr. Warren Anderson, President of the Guild of Students.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gregorio. And I'd like to recognize, firstly, the campus executive management team, the deans, heads of departments, managers, all other panelists, and most importantly to me, the members of the Guild of Students viewing right now on the YouTube stream. So I'm asked to make a brief comment to introduce today. And I'd like to focus on what the Guild is and what we are offering to you in this time of great challenge. The Guild is a group of students just like you. We are elected volunteers working for you, working for us, because we are all members of the Guild of Students. The Guild Council is in charge of governing your resources, and more applicable in this time, we are the ones entrusted by you to advocate on your behalf, to fight where necessary, and to most times negotiate professionally with the campus administration. So we know that there are very unique challenges faced by our membership at this time. And I just want to impress upon the viewership that we have listened, we always listen, and we are making every effort to expand on these engagements in this tenure. I would like to thank the campus principal, Professor Copeland, for his presentation, because it is indicative of a campus admin that is also listening. One of the challenges we have as the Guild Council is that we come across information first that the wider membership of the Guild of Students is not privy to. It's our challenge then to understand what the campus admin is saying, but to remain firm in our representation and to remain listening to our student membership so that we can negotiate on your behalf. But I emphasize that as passionate and as free as our members are allowed to be, in our first engagements, the Guild Council is called on to be professional. And this is important because we have to show the campus administration that as young as we are, we understand what it means to have a seat at the table and to talk the talk and represent our membership. So I'd like to thank the administration again for listening to us. We know that not everything was covered because there are some unique challenges, but the Guild is here to help our membership. In fact, we have a team, just like the administration, we have a team monitoring the chat for any gaps in communication so that we can take it further. We have several opportunities for engagement with the campus administration at faculty boards, at academic board, at the campus council and university council meetings, and even in private engagements. So the advocacy is always there, the representation is always there. But we also recognize that internally as a Guild Council, we too are fighting a culture of a lack of trust. So I'm using this short opportunity here today to say to you, members, trust us. We are doing the work. And although we are students and we have programs just like you, and we have to burn the midnight oil in our programs, whatever little extra time that we have to engage on your behalf, we are committed to doing this. On the lighter side of things, this year, through these challenges, we are committed to converting a lot of the engagements that we have grown accustomed to on the campus, especially for our new members that are coming into the UE family. With that said, we have mounted efforts to bring to you and as exciting as possible, a Guild Fest, which is really our launch as a guild. And we have done our best to make it just as exciting from the comfort of your homes. We also have engagements such as campus talks, where we hit on some of the more serious topics and give you an opportunity to voice your concerns live on air. We have cultural entertainment. We have some fun competitions on the way. And we also have workshops for you, for your learning and for your engagement as well. So I just take the opportunity to impress upon you again that the representation is there. We are doing it with your mental health in mind. We are doing it with the hopes of including each and every one. Inclusion is very important to us as we aim to deliver to the Caribbean family. We too are going through it. Some of our counselors, we have not been able to engage with face-to-face, even coming into office. And with the lack of access to the halls, we too are feeling it. So we are students, we are going through it with you, and we are right there with you. And I just close by saying, stay informed. Get us on Twitter, get us on Facebook, UE Guild, STA, and on Instagram at One Guild STA as well. Further to that, this year we are launching a website because we want to have support for classroom engagements and these things, and to have as much fun as possible, just to ease our mind on the stresses that this pandemic has brought to us. So thank you once again, Mrs. Gregorio, and thank you, campus admin. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And the students, you heard it's all about commitment from the administration, from our student leaders, all really working together and acknowledging that it's about open communication and it's about collaboration, all with student success as the end goal. So students, we are seeing your comments, we are viewing your comments and answering them. We are continuing this session and we're going to get the ball rolling with the questions. I asked the panelists on this session to be prepared, and I want to throw out the first question to our head of graduate studies, Prof. Harry. Prof. Harry, are you with us?
I'm here. Thank you.
And the question is around MPhil thesis for examination soon. And the question is about registering. Do they have to register and pay fees this semester while the thesis is being marked?
Yes, actually, when they are under examination, they still have to register. The extension, I don't know whether the student has already submitted and is under examination, but they have to register. If they haven't submitted yet, we have extended the deadline to December 18th, a blanket extension of the deadline. And on case-by-case basis, when departments support, we further extend the deadline also.
Okay, thank you, Prof. Now to our Deputy Campus Registrar, Mrs. Brown, I want to call on you. The question is specific, but I wonder if we could broaden it a little more to probably answer some other questions. And it's about academic advising and the holds that may be placed for students. Mrs. Brown, are you able to speak about that?
Thank you very much, Vinal. Good evening, colleagues. Good evening to all our students. There are two parts to the holds and the accounts. We'll start with the faculty academic advising hold. The advising hold, which is normally, I think, reflected as an FA hold on the student's account, that is a hold which is entered so that in the one instance, all our new students must go to academic advising, speak with their advisors in order to be given counseling relative to the courses that they're doing, the programs of study, what their plans are. That's the kind of discussion they will have in academic advising, so that they're then provided with information on the courses for which they must register relative to the program of study they will be pursuing. That hold must be removed after the advising is done with the faculty, and they would then be able to go online and do their course selection. There are other holds which are on the accounts. And remember, academic advising now is really for all students. So it's not only new students, and most faculties have made academic advising mandatory, even for our continuing students. Because what we do not want is our students, when they have completed what they think might be their 3-year or their 4-year, whatever course of study, they now realize that they did not complete maybe the correct courses, or they did not finish all the requirements for their program of study. So therefore, we are saying to them, academic advising is absolutely important for all our students. The hold must be removed before they can proceed to do their online registration. In some cases, you may find a student, on a continuing student, you may find a hold, they may have a dean's hold on their account. The dean's hold is placed on a student account where the faculty and the system, given how it is built, says that a student's performance is not up to par. It's not up to what we would want or what it should be if that student is to complete his or her course of study. Of course, remember, to graduate with a UWI degree, you must have a minimum GPA of 2.0. And therefore, to ensure that we help you satisfy that requirement, a dean's hold is placed on your account so that the dean or the advisor in your faculty would speak to you, again, because, again, it's guidance. So we do a lot of hand holding so that at the end of the day, you are out in flying colors. There are other holds. For instance, there's the financial hold. Kevin can, student accounts can put that is put on their hold, a person, what you call an accounts receivable hold and stuff like that. That's really related to the money hold. And I'm sure Kevin, when I will be able to expand on the financial type holds that we have. Yes?
Thank you, DCR. Kevin, do you want to take the floor one time as we transition into that? Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Sonal, and good evening, colleagues and our students as well. If you have an AR hole on your account, most likely it's because of some sort of is a financial reason. You may have outstanding fees. Most likely that would be the case. We would urge students with AR holes on their accounts to email us or call us at the designated email addresses and extensions, and we will be able to guide them in how to get that hole released.
Thank you, and I trust my colleagues will be placing those in the chat as we speak. And up next, I want to call on our librarian, our campus librarian, Mr. Frank Sudin. I hope he is with us. Let me check. Yes, Mr. Sudin, yes. I know Principal mentioned it in his presentation, but we do have a question around clarifying the operations of the library at this time.
Thank you, Winell. The question, specific question to the operations of the library, could you repeat?
Yeah, how is the library operating at this time?
Oh, I see. Okay, thank you. Essentially what is happening, the library is operating in online mode. We have been operating in online mode since the start of the lockdown, effective March 16, 2020. And we're also, at this point, expanding our services to provide drop-off of books and electronic devices and so on to students for loan off-site, off the campus. So presently our returns, students are also interested in returning books that they would have borrowed before the lockdown, and they're concerned about the fines, the overdue fines and so on. We are asking them, to try and bring those books back in at their earliest convenience. And the days for returning those books are essentially Tuesdays to Thursdays between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And they are to return those books at the Sir Arthur Lewis Hall residence on St. James Road in St. Augustine. We are also saying to them that when they come to return those books, they should ensure that they are following all these safety protocols, the health and safety protocols as prescribed. So we expect them to be wearing their masks. Once they come into the hall, the recreation hall at the Arthur Lewis Hall, they will be socially distanced or physically distanced, and they will also be looking at ensuring that they wash their hands and so on before they come in. That site is also used, as I said, to deliver loans of devices such as laptops and tablets for those students who need access to that kind of technology to access the online learning and so on. So in addition to that, as I said earlier, we have been really supporting the students in terms of providing online reference inquiry service from day one. We have a synchronous service where librarians are in real time are able to answer queries online, and they roster the times for accessing that service. It's posted on our website as well as the library's Facebook page. We are engaged in virtual consultations with students, particularly our postgrad students, especially as we treat with their continuing research, as well as in terms of ensuring that they meet they fulfill the requirements of the thesis that they will be developing in terms of formatting, the citations, and so on. So we are constantly doing that, and we have been doing that for quite a while, even before the lockdown. There's a whole lot of more information that I could give, but I don't want to tie up the entire meeting in this way. What I would advise is the students, we are continuously updating our website. I think the principal's presentation included the link, but you can look at the website. There is a page there developed during the lockdown that answers all those questions, and we are constantly updating our FAQs so that you can be constantly updated as we progress further. Just one more point I want to raise is that we are also exploring the option of if a student beyond wanting a book borrowed wants to get something printed or photocopied, we are also exploring that option to deliver that document to the student offsite as well. I don't know if that answers your question adequately.
It does, and I also saw a follow-up in the chat about sanitizing of the books.
Yes, well, when the books return, when they return to the Sal Hall site, they will be placed by the students in some bins that we have, some book deposit boxes, and those books will remain in quarantine, so to speak, for a minimum of three days, because the research is saying essentially that the virus won't survive on book covers and so on for more than maybe 24 hours. But we are playing it safe, and we are quarantining those books before staff can actually handle them and be returned to the library. But at the same time, when they return, we are giving the students that sort of leeway to ensure that they don't have to pay any overdue fines and so on at this point in time. We just ask that they try to bring them back as soon as possible, because at present we have over 2,000 books outside there on loan.
Okay. All right, thank you very much for that. And we turn our attention now to the Faculty of Medical Sciences. I'm glad the Dean is able to be with us, Professor Simangal. The question is about medical students and clinicals in hospitals. And the question is, what safety measures are being put in place to ensure the safety of the students?
So the first thing I think we have to note is that our students are future doctors. So with regard to the immediate safety in the environment, they will be subject to the same precautions that doctors to whom they will be reporting will be taking. That's the first point. The second point is the COVID patients are all being cared for in the parallel healthcare system where our students are not assigned. We cannot control that, however, because it may be that at some stage the parallel healthcare system is overloaded and COVID patients may wind up on the medical wards. So that's the first point. Also, the second point. Third thing is, there has been a lot of training in infectious diseases. Students who go on the wards in year 4 have done a course in microbiology, in which they are trained in the treatment, the symptoms, the prevention of infectious diseases. And of course, we have several programs which overlap on prevention offered by our Department of Paraclinical Sciences and the Unit of Family Medicine. The final point, and I discussed this yesterday at a meeting on the campus, which I'm sure maybe the principal may have alluded to earlier, and that is students are responsible for their own care. That is, it is as our doctors, as everybody else, we are responsible to ourselves in the end for what we do. So if people feel that even though they want to be doctors, they are not able to cope with the stress that the COVID pandemic has brought us, they will not be unique in that. Several professionals in different capacities have had problems coping with that stress. And I cannot claim to be an expert at it either. Nevertheless, if they feel that they do not wish to take that stress, then we will allow them to defer without penalty, either financial or academic, for 6 months or 1 year, with the recognition that the pandemic may be better at that time, or it may be worse. So these are the various approaches that we have taken to try to shepherd our students through what is a very difficult period for both us and them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dean. And I think that clarifies. The principal did speak on clinicals in general, and I think you gave us the specifics regarding the question. So thank you for that. Now we turn our attention to the examination section, and I want to call on my colleague who is responsible for that area, Mrs. Thomas-Elaine. And we have a lot of questions about graduation, about the actual receipt of certificates. Will it be mailed? How will persons receive it? And I would like you to talk a little bit about that, please, Nadia.
Hello, everyone, and especially our students. Yes, we are in the process of awarding degrees, and we have in fact printed a large amount of certificates having processed the award of degrees. We invite our students, they have been calling and emailing, and we have been asking them when they call to also email us so that we can provide information on collection of the certificates. So at this point in time, because we do not have an appointment system to physically hand over that certificate, we are saying to students that they can in fact purchase a track pack from TT Post. So these are for our local students. You can purchase a track pack from TT Post, and we give you the details on what you need to ask for when you go into TT Post. It's it costs $38 and that track pack comes into the examination section, and we package your certificate very securely so that it is damaged, etc. And you will receive that certificate at your residence. Yes, so we mail it. We mail it out to you via TT Post. For our regional and international students, we have always had in place a courier service, which we are continuing. So we will also provide you with that information on how you can go about paying for that service, and we then send it out to you. With respect to graduation, I know perhaps the registrar may want to talk a little bit more about that at this time, but we are working, as Principal said, on a hybrid ceremony, which we are excited about, and we look forward to sharing that with you in due course. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Registrar, would you take the baton here and continue the conversation about our graduation ceremonies? I know this is also a question that we were getting in the chat.
Sure. Sure, Manal. We have graduation ceremonies scheduled for January. As usual, the decision with respect to graduation is a cross-campus decision. And so the decision was taken across the entire university system to push the actual ceremonies back to the start of 2021, the first 2 weeks in January, and more information will be shared in due course.
Okay, thank you very much. So turning to our applicants now, our prospective students and those who applied and possibly are having challenges or troubles, I want to call on Simone Roberts, who is responsible for that area. And we do have some specific questions, but I hope that you can possibly speak about, in general, the process where we are at now and how it will impact upon registration. Because the fear is persons may not have heard anything in terms of their application and it will impact their registration. So they're seeing faculty orientations happening and they're getting a bit concerned. So can you speak overall to the process where we're at now?
Sure, Winell, thanks. Good evening, everyone. So speaking about the application process, so this week actually several faculty entrance committee meetings have been held and continue to be held. And from those decisions will be entered in the system and offer letters will be issued soon after. So several more applicants after this week will be in receipt of offer letters and could begin the whole academic advising process and the registration process. Registration goes until September the 18th. So applicants or new students still have some time in which they can register, select their courses and pay their fees and complete that whole registration process. In terms of applicants, if they have submitted all their documents, they have submitted the application form, submitted their documents, then they just need to keep tracking their application online, and then they would see when a decision has been made and when the offer letter has been issued. Without anything else you think?
Yes, I was going to say particularly someone talked about seeing an outstanding on their application, though they submitted everything already.
Okay, so sometimes in an application, they may see like outstanding documents. So applicants would have submitted documents, but what is required by the admissions office is certified documents, meaning that the copies have been stamped, signed and stamped as being true originals, true copies of the original, sorry. And if those documents are not submitted, then the status of the application would still read as outstanding. So perhaps that might be the issue. In most cases, that is the issue. So they outstanding documents, but in their minds, or not in their minds, they know they have submitted documents, but if they are not certified documents, the status will remain as outstanding. But it will say yes and explain which documents they need to resubmit.
Okay, thank you, Simone. Deputy Principal, with this in mind, will the registration deadline remain? Will it be extended, especially as we have some waiting on a firm offer still? Can you tell us about registration?
Thank you, Winel, and good evening, students and colleagues. Yes, so registration opened last Monday, that's the 24th of August, and will go all the way until the 18th of September. So that's full 4 weeks of registration. Of course, if there are issues, we will be willing to extend, but we'll make that decision at that point in time. So hopefully with this 4-week period, most will be able to register. Thanks, Winel.
Thank you. Okay, we have some very faculty specific questions coming our way now, and I call first on our Dean of FST, the Science and Technology faculty. And Dean, there's a specific question to you about academic advising, what it entails, if you can share a bit more about it, specific to your faculty.
Well, thank you, Winel, and good evening, colleagues and students joining us, prospective students as well. Academic advising, most of that exercise is online for, well, for everyone, I guess, so Faculty of Science and Technology. The process has a 3-day waiting period for those who are registering. In terms of our academic advising process, it's necessary that you receive academic advising so that your registration can be as smooth as possible. I wasn't able to catch any specific question concerning academic advising in the chat. So maybe if you could help me out here, Winel.
They just specifically asked for your faculty, what does the process entail?
It's all outlined online and very intuitive. So okay. I would urge anyone having any difficulty, what you can do as well is email us in the faculty and we'll walk you through it. But for most of the students, they've been able to maneuver because it's a very intuitive process that we've set up.
Okay. Thank you for that. Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences, we got a question earlier that was quite similar, but on the postgrad side for your faculty with respect to academic advising. Can you share some more about it?
Yes, thank you, Winel. Good afternoon, colleagues. In terms of the postgraduate advising, what is happening in the faculty is that each department will be hosting an orientation session for the respective programs. Students will be emailed indicating the day and time of this orientation session. In the orientation sessions, students will be introduced to the coordinator of the program. They will get some information on the program and any other information that is needed at that time. Immediately after the orientation session, students will engage in the academic advising specific to their program. So everything will take place at the same time, orientation and the academic advising.
Okay, don't go too quickly. We also have a question about overrides and it being not as fast for some. Can you say the process for overrides and maybe a contact person or a contact email address also?
Well, overrides are all, you have to request the override online, as you know, and then respective lecturers are responsible for approving or disapproving the override. Now, as you can well imagine, at this time, we do have quite a number of requests coming in, and the lecturers are all aware that the processing of overrides should be taking place on a daily basis. And so we have a backlog at this time, and so we are clearing these overrides on a daily basis. In each department, if it is that students, after 3 days, you haven't received a response on your override request, then I'm requesting that you send an email to the administrative assistant in the respective department. The contact details for each administrative assistant can be found on the respective department website.
Okay, thank you for that, Dean. So I'm sure my colleagues in the chat will echo those words of advice that wait 3 days, and if no word, then escalate to the particular department. We did have a question for Dean Ekwe. I'm searching my questions. Dean Ekwe, the question was around access to lockers specifically at the Faculty of Engineering, the electrical and computer engineering, and the student wants to know what is being put in place. How can they access their stuff? Dean Ekwe?
Okay, good evening, everyone. Yeah, I think the best thing for the students to do is to write to the administrative officer of the faculty. They'll be able to, she'll be able to advise on the best way that we can retrieve the items. Okay? Or the head of department. The students should write the head of department or the administrative officer of the faculty. And that will be the best method. Then we will find out the best way of retrieving the items.
Okay, thank you. Asking my colleagues to place that in the chat as well for support for that particular student. And Principal, I hope you were able to catch a breath after your presentation to answer this next one. And it is about future focus. And the question is if there will be an online option for lectures and tutorials post-COVID.
Right, thanks, Manal. That is the plan. That's why, in fact, I had said that, I mean, COVID brings a lot of pain, but it seems that Mother Nature works in this way to force people into a space where they improve on their offerings and in the way in which they do things. Like one of those forest fires, they look awful, but they actually create a space for new life to grow. So in the case of online, we have been pushing for online delivery. We saw it as necessary. And the reason wasn't, I mean, we now see that, of course, it gives us a hedge against a pandemic. So that's reason one that has only now become clear. But for the long term, we saw the need for the survival. We did speak a bit about the finances, that we needed to go to a more global education market. There are many people outside who would like to take part in, to basically partake, if you like, of our offerings. I mentioned that we have a collaboration with the State University of New York. There's actually a UB Center there. Excuse me a minute. There's a UB Center there. And they offer some courses to people in the diaspora. So UE as a whole is looking at global education, and but we have seen this as necessary in this campus. So the aim then, from that perspective, is expand, have programs and courses online, and if you're going online, looking at global market, all courses will necessarily be viable for that purpose. So we have to have a process for determining those, but basically develop that online capability, identify where the market is, and work to deliver it on the longer term. Now, what will happen is that there's going to be a mix of local and foreign students, but as a consequence, I think the local and regional students will benefit as they interact with the international colleagues and partake in these different courses. So, two benefits. One is reach. I was chastised 2 years ago when I said that you know, a university is a business. Now everybody's saying that it is, because even though it's not about profit in the end per se, you still have to balance the budget. But if you look at the discussions, it's all about finances and everything. It's very, very complex, as Warren would tell you. You've seen some of this. And that became necessary because our markets are actually saturating and our numbers are dropping. But secondly, once you have an online presence for every course, it means that you don't have to have the kind of rapid, painstaking transition we had when we went into lockdown. You can immediately switch to online if you're delivering in a sort of a blended or hybrid mode, because you're already there. So it's building resilience and robustness, number one, and also expansion of market. So I have long-winded answers. The short one is yes. Right? You want more? I can give you plenty more future. We have a lot of future plans.
Thank you for that, Future. And talking about Future, Dean of the Faculty of Humanities and Education, can I call on you next? We have a question on what is the plan for DCFA, theatre and dance? What can persons expect?
They can expect a very exciting year. They can expect experience like no other group has had before. I told my students we will all make history together this year. I must say the lecturers, they have sat down, they have looked at their courses, they have looked at their programs, and they have come up with very creative ways to make sure that the necessary interaction is there. You will have projects in virtual ways you've never had before. You will have more one-on-one sessions to ensure that the learning takes place. But at the end, you will have a quality experience, and we do expect some productions in the virtual mode.
Things to look forward to from the DCFA there in a different format. And now we ask Berza to join us on the spotlight. Berza, we are being asked about the student payment plan. And can you address the timing for the student payment plan over 4 months versus 3 months, as well as the deadline for the first installment? Can you talk to us in general about the student payment plan?
Sure thing, Manal. Afternoon, colleagues. Afternoon, students and prospective students. We do understand that registration is lagging a little later than it is, and with all of the uncertainties of the period. So we will be very accommodating in how we deal with the payment plans. Yes, we will look at starting in September. Our main concern for payment plans is that you pay all your fees before exams so that we can ensure that you have paid your fees. So we would look at how best to extend it. We will work with the finance manager students, who is Kevin Kalu, you saw him earlier, to ensure that the payment plans are reasonable in this season of uncertainty. So yes, we're there to support you in it.
Thank you, Berza. So you're seeing students support from all around. And talking about support, I asked my colleague, the head of the Division of Student Services and Development, and her mandate is support, if she could share some about support for the students in this new normal that we are facing. Dr. Charles, are you with us?
I am. Thank you, Mrs. Gregorio. Good evening, students. Good evening, colleagues. Of course, we have something exciting for everyone, first-year students and continuing students. For our first-year students, we have started all our FYE online programs with your faculties. Look forward. We have also done one on health and well-being. We have UB Life coming up. So all your FYE programs, your first-year orientation and transition programs will be done online. And they will also be recorded so that you could, for those who have missed it, you'll have an opportunity to view it some other time. In addition to that, we have also developed some new virtual models for you as well, with exciting videos and quizzes. So a lot of exciting things for our first year students. And for all students, including our second year and final year students, we also going to engage you virtually. There are a number of programs. You're working with the Guild to do campus talks. So we'll have various discussions on that. We're looking to up your skills, give you new programs and new workshops to develop various skills, makeup classes, cooking classes, all kinds of exciting areas we're looking at, technology, for example. We're also trying to get you put together a care kit for you. And so far, we have exciting things in the bag so far. I'll give you a little teaser. We have something from the bookshop. We're looking at something from the mobile. So all these exciting things are coming your way. We are also looking into doing the program we did last year, We Got Talent. We want to go virtual with that. So a lot of exciting things. We are here to support you as usual. Our counseling services, students with disability, everything is online, careers, community engagement. We are online and we are alive and kicking, and we are waiting to welcome you and engage you throughout this new semester.
Thank you, Dr. Charles. Don't go too far. I wonder if you could tell the students a little bit more about the CAPS, which is under your division, because we during the week and even in the open day sessions, we were getting some questions about health and wellness and what systems are in place. Can you explain how it works and how students can access it?
Okay, again, it is all virtual, and we are doing a lot of teletherapy, so the students could go online and make an appointment to see any one of our counselors, and they will be seen by one of our counselors. Apart from this one-on-one consultation, we also have a number of different programs that you'll be able to do in groups. So look out for that as well, and you could go online and register for those programs. So these things are all free of charge. You go, you make your booking, it will be online, and you could get to see one of our counselors and also participate in some of the programs we'll be putting on for you as well.
Thank you for that. That's a lot to look forward to for students in this new normal. Now, we call upon Mr. Kevin Kalu. The buzzer referred to Mr. Kalu a little bit earlier. We are getting some questions to clarify the options to pay fees. So are you able to clarify that for our students?
Sure, Winell. So we have three main ways of paying your fees. The traditional way, which would have been at Republic Bank using our student deposit slip. Now, those deposit slips I did make available to the bank recently, and they had promised that they would dispatch those slips to other branches of Republic Bank across the island, the country, to make it available for students there. So they didn't have to, students don't have to come to the WI branch of Republic Bank to pay those fees. They could do it at almost any branch of Republic Bank, all right? So that's one. The second way of paying your fees, which in this environment, I think would be the most convenient, is online through your MySecure area. So you log into your MySecure area, you click on online payments, and you make a payment of your fees using a valid credit card. The banks are working on setting up those international debit cards, so that should soon be available. But definitely with Visa or MasterCard, you can pay your fees online through your MySecure area. The third option is to pay your fees through a bank transfer using internet banking. So with our bank account number, you can deposit funds directly into an account using that internet banking feature, and you will get a receipt, and you can then bring that receipt to us to confirm or to show as proof of payment. Yep. So those are the three main ways of paying your fees. Quite simple, easy, pretty effortless.
Okay, thank you for that. And we have a question about ID cards. Mrs. Brown, will you be able to answer it? How will students access their ID cards, new ID cards? How will they, what will the process be like?
Okay, thank you, Winell. Right, ID cards, while the students would not be able to come on campus to get the physical ID, the process to getting your ID cards mean, yes, once you've completed your registration, once you've obtained financial clearance, you can get your ID card. It can be issued to you. Remember, the process also includes for new students, they have to follow a system which allows them to upload a passport size picture. So the new students have to upload this picture to the ID card. There's a particular link which we have given on the registration website, which is there, and we will also have it put it in the chat. So the new students have to upload this picture. Once they have financial clearance, an ID card would be generated for them. However, because we cannot give you a physical card, you can't come on campus, we are working towards issuing an electronic ID card. So you're still going to have an electronic UE student ID card. When business normalizes, I would want to say normalize, or we are back on site, you then can come into the ID card office, and clearly we will publish those dates and collect the physical card. But until further notice, we would be issuing electronic ID cards to our students. Yes?
Okay, thanks. Thank you for that clarity. And to the Guild President, I hope you're still with us, Mr. Anderson. I suppose following from the head of DSSD's sharing earlier, the question is how will clubs work, or how will it flow this semester, student clubs?
Well, that's a good question, and we have all the clubs on board with us this year through the Interclubs Committee. And that is why it is so important for us to launch the website. The website will really serve as a hub for the majority of the guild activity. Even with social media and these things, we are still operating in silos. And the irony is that our Instagram is One Guild STA. So we are really serious about getting into that oneness and that unity as mandated by our constitution this year. And we see the website as one of the biggest ways for us to do this. So on our website, we will have all the clubs listed, right? We will have previews to their engagements, and so our members will have the ability to simply scroll through and join a club, find out what they are about, and see if it's a right fit.
Okay, thank you. So a lot of it is about staying tuned to websites, social media pages, etc., as we look for information. Now, calling on the Dean of the Faculty of Medical Sciences, we have a follow-up question to the last, and it's about the plans for the faculties wider than the MBBS, so the nursing and some of the others. They're interested to find out about the plans for their clinicals and to keep them safe as well. What about nursing specifically and some of the other non-MBBS areas?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. Sorry if I wasn't expansive enough when I answered earlier, but I really thought the question was previously was for the those on the wards. So the nursing students, interestingly enough, I discussed that with the director just today. We have not yet heard from the chief nursing officer. I met her in a meeting about a week ago, and I said I wanted the nursing students to come out around the same time as the medical students. She said yes, but that she would meet with the director, but it hasn't yet happened. So I really have to apologize to you all for that. But the problem with pinning down the ministry senior officials right now is the amount of stress they are under with the COVID pandemic. So bear with us, we are working on it. We have every intention of getting you out in a safe way as soon as we can. So I'm really sorry about that delay. Now, with regard to dentistry, vet medicine, and optometry, I'm going to say something on pharmacy in a minute, but dentistry, vet medicine, and optometry are more localized teaching services in that they are centered mainly at the Mount Hope site. And in the case of optometry, at the teaching building, not the hospital, but at the teaching building in Couva. So obviously these are under the overview of the NCRHA. Like me, the chief executive officer of the NCRHA, and I can tell you this, of course, I spoke with him just this afternoon, is keen for us to operationalize the teaching services in a safe way as quickly as possible. So those three disciplines will have a meeting with him and his senior colleagues at the NCRHA so that they would be comfortable that any clinicals as well as our staff. It is important, I feel, that the NCRHA on behalf of the government keeps an oversight here because they are the clinical service provider in this region. With regard to pharmacy, the final year pharmacy program is taught completely on site at various hospitals and clinics. So we have not yet got the go-ahead for that, but the pharmacy school is going to have to get involved very shortly on it. We are still waiting to hear from the ministry about how we can involve them. They also go to some of the hospitals in the pharmacy departments. So again, apologies about that one. We are trying to get some consensus here with the ministry on it, but it is taking a bit of time. I believe I've answered everything, Winnell, or is there more?
No, I think that's it, Dean. Thank you very much. Comprehensive. Thank you. And medically related, but not really. We have our medical officer, Dr. Neil Singh, on hand, and I call on him to answer a question next. Dr. Singh, you with us?
Yes, I am.
All right, so the question is surrounding the medical clearance. And do students need to still submit the medical form since we have gone online?
Right. Good evening, everyone, and good evening, students. The medical form is still required, and you have until the end of December to submit your medical form now. And it used to be at the 1st of October. We have extended the deadline. The medical form is submitted online. All students, except those in the Faculty of Medical Sciences, do not require a visit to a doctor. They are required to complete the Part A, which is the patient health questionnaire, and they can scan that and email it to us together with the vaccination card. They can email it to doctor@sta.uw.edu or nurse@sta.uw.edu. There is a medical hold on your account, which is there, but it's not a restrictive hold. You can still register for your programs. Once we have received your information and we have communicated with you that your information is valid, we will then remove the hold, and that is usually done within the first month or two of the semester. And you will notice that any student who is re-registering for and their medical holds are still there means that they have not supplied us with the requisite medical information, and those holds become restrictive. And until you do so, we cannot remove the holds. So in summary, you are required to submit your medical. It's done online. You email, scan and email your vaccination card and your medical form, which can be downloaded from our website. With respect to the Faculty of Medical Sciences, those students are required to do a Part A, a Part B vaccination, and a Part C, a medical examination by a doctor. They are required to provide evidence of TB screening and further vaccinations. Apart from the compulsory tetanus and MMR, they are supposed to provide us with evidence of the hepatitis B as well. We understand the limitations with respect to getting vaccinations. So sometimes, for example, the chickenpox vaccination will require 1 dose. Hepatitis B, which usually requires 3 doses, will accept 2 doses, and you can avail yourself of the others once you have registered and within university at the health center has available for students. Currently, we have no vaccination available free of charge for students. The government usually supplies those, and we have not been receiving any of those vaccinations. I hope that answers the question.
It does. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Dr. Singh. Now, students, we're nearing I think we've passed the 7 o'clock mark, so we're looking to wind down in a short while. But to sort of wrap up the session, I want to call on our admissions head, Mr. Moon Roberts, to give us a few reminders and to a few hints or tips as we wind down. Simone?
Thanks, Manal. So related to applications, I just want to encourage applicants to continue monitoring or tracking their applications online, and they will see a decision and they will receive an offer letter very soon. Yes. I also want to say to persons, because this is also related to the admissions office, persons who wish to request status letters, that this service is available, and you need to complete the form that is also available on the campus's website. If you pay online, you can submit the receipt also via email, admiss@sta.uwi.edu. and your status letter will be prepared and issued to you in 5 to 7 working days. I have been asked to remind students that if they are not financially cleared, that the status letter will not be issued. So they have to ensure that they are financially cleared before, I guess, before even applying, yes, because the letter will not be issued. That's it for now, my reminders.
Thank you very much. So as we wrap, I want to offer the opportunity to the Guild President to say some closing words. Mr. Anderson.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Gregorio. And it's now is, given that this meeting is winding down, the atmosphere is still very intense. I'll communicate now that we Guild Council has a meeting now where we are about to chart our way forward and strengthen our communication to our members. And I really just want to express my gratitude again for the listening ear of the campus. Principal, I would have impressed upon you the need for further communication. And I'm happy to say to our members that, it was really, the response was good. For those who were not able to soak in all of the information today presented by the UE, please go to your emails. Please go to your emails, your student emails. If you don't use them, please make it a habit from now. That is where most of the information is shared by the campus. As a secondary reference, please tune in to the social media pages of the Guild of Students. Instagram, One Guild STA, and we're also on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks once again.
Thank you very much, Principal. I now invite you to give your closing remarks to our students.
Thank you, Winel. In thinking about closing the session, I was reminded of a conversation I had with my son not too long ago. We were looking at the spikes and so on. He had some experience with these things. And he was saying that he found that, speaking specifically of Trinidad, that the people in the country are generally having a more of an individual response. I don't want to say selfish, but they're not collaborating. And a proper response to COVID requires collaboration. It's forcing you to distance yourself, and we are societal beings. But it doesn't mean that we can't collaborate, communicate, and engage to face the problem. We cannot let it win that way. We've paid the price in this country for allowing our own individualism to sort of take over, not mindful of the consequence to others for the actions that we take. And it's that spirit of collaboration helping to beat the odds that I want to end today's session. I did give a challenge that, that by the year 2034, this week I don't know why that number came. I think it was 15 years from the time when I first said it. That we need to see a new economy shaping out this country. It needs time to do these things. And also a new way of thinking, a new society. Many of us here will be, I don't want to say rocking chairs and all that stuff, but basically our time to make that contribution would have gone by then. But I pray that I'll be around to see that transformation and to see the students who are on this session leading that charge, building new companies, enhancing the economic system, making for much more responsible citizenry than obtained before. To me, that is the mark of a successful graduate. And it's not, you will find that, of course, your focus now is going out there and getting the jobs. That's fine. After 5, 10 years, you realize there's more to it than that. Because in this, until you build that society, that job it might actually disappear or will not be as strong as it should be. See, it all works together like that. Our job is to make sure that you are well prepared. You will give you the ammunition you require to fight that war. First of all, to navigate through this World War III, with this insidious enemy that we're facing, but it also is creating these divisions, and you've seen it all, that could tear society apart. Don't let that happen. Don't let that happen. That's a mistake. That's deceit. You want to focus. We have to do this collaboratively. As I said, we're not perfect. We're not perfect. We work together, and together we make for a better whole. There will be times, as Warren said, that you may have to come to us, and we've done it many times. We face them with serious sort of almost battles, I would say, but there were decisions to be made. But understanding that both sides have the same interest at heart. So in all of this, therefore, I'd like you students, keep your focus. Don't get distracted. Raise matters up as they come. You have a channel for doing it. Use the channel, as Warren said. And make sure then that you maintain your journey to that vision that you have for yourself and a big and here for society. So with that, these are my concluding comments. And we will speak to students again at orientation a little bit more about what we see as the responsibility of a university graduate, especially a UWI graduate, give its history and whatnot, and the contributions that they can make to the society and therefore to themselves, even before graduation, but certainly after graduation. Thank you. Thank you and good night, everyone.
Thank you, Principal. Students, there were a lot of great questions being asked this evening, and I hope we were able to address your concerns. I trust that after our engaging session, you really understand our level of commitment to you. In fact, our 10 commitments to you, as the principal indicated. Now, if some of your questions weren't answered, please use the website, use the social media pages, UWI St. Augustine on Facebook. We will answer the questions that weren't able to be addressed this evening. And as we bring today's session to a close, I really want to thank you all students for your time, to my colleagues, and to the planning and the technical teams working in the background to make sure everything was in tip-top shape. And thank you all for being with us this evening. It's been a pleasure to host you. I want to reiterate that you pay attention to the emails, the student emails, as the president of the Guild said, to social media, and we really look forward to seeing you and seeing your contributions and to really witnessing your growth throughout this semester. Good night.
Good night.